listeners, to Men Metal Mayhem, the podcast where the brothers Ben take a deep dive into the discographies of our favorite metal bands. I'm your host, Brother Paul, joined as ever by my two brothers and co-hosts, Brother John
I feel shocked.
and Brother Dave.
Give it to me. I must have it.
We are finishing mini season 3.5 Forgotten Relics, where we dive into the albums we had on repeat in our youth, but we haven't listened to in decades. And today we are talking about Rackets and Drapes' 1998 shock goth debut album, Candyland. Join us in our home street home. This album is actually a bit of a joint choice between Brother John and I, so I'm going to kick it over to Brother John first to tell us his history with Rackets and Drapes, and then I have two quick anecdotes to share regarding this album. Brother John.
All right. Well, thanks, Brother Paul. Like I said up top, I feel shocked. And the reason is that this is a shock rock album that we were listening to, and it was nothing short of shocking. To be honest, I don't recall exactly how I found out about this band. I think maybe because they had a couple songs on this sampler from MCM Records, which is a label that was either maybe released all of Savior Machine stuff or they were affiliated with that label somehow. And I think what was happening is I knew Savior Machine and I loved them. And I was like, where can I find more music like Savior Machine? And then this sampler I probably just saw at the Christian bookstore. I was like, oh, nice. Bunch of bands I've never heard of. So I picked that up and I went and I actually found it in storage in a box of CDs that I have here still. And so let's see, the couple of songs. Oh, shoot, I have not put it in my notes what songs were on there, but I did take a little look at the liner notes, and here's what that sampler had to say about the band Rackets and Drapes. It said, sort of like a little bio of them. An industrial slash thrash band from Denver, Rackets and Drapes has a look and feel that appeals to the Marilyn Manson slash Nine Inch Nails fan. Their album Candyland takes on the tough topics of the day: abortion, child and spouse abuse, child abduction, sin, and hypocrisy. Rackets and Drapes is treading dark waters to reach today's lost and hurting youth, speaking their language and, quote, looking at their culture in order to offer them the hope of Jesus Christ and eternal life. So that kind of makes it sounds like, I don't know, that they're just like sort of a gimmicky thing to appeal to like people who are hurting, basically, and who are going through hard times, and that they maybe don't like actually like they're just putting on a show, basically. But I don't know
The
if
cool
that's
youth pastor
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure.
with their
So
backwards baseball cap and their industrial thrash music. What?
yep. Or in the
Oh,
case of Rackets and Drapes, they're fishnets and dresses and dyed hair and
I think a top
thick.
hat's involved.
Yeah, probably thick black eyeliner, just looking the gothic part. But I feel like these people weren't just like putting on a show or dressing up to play a part. I think this was actually their style and everything. If you will indulge me, I did find an interview which I think was from 1999. It was before their second album had come out, which was, I believe, released in 2000. Maybe I could be getting the dates a little wrong, but there's a couple excerpts, and it sort of gives a little more of an insight into what was this band all about. So one of the questions the interviewer asked, do you consider yourself controversial? What's all the controversy about? And the lead singer, Candy Kane, spelled with two Ks, Kandy, Kane, says, I guess so, only because we don't look like your stereotypical Christian, and we don't put Jesus in every song so we can make a buck selling it in Christian bookstores. We are not parent friendly. We deal with real issues and struggles. And we don't candy coat it either. Not my cup of tea. Most Christians don't understand that. If I just sang about Jesus, how is that telling the youth that I know and understand what they are going through? My music speaks to those people, the unsaved. I'm really tired of going to Christian concerts and all it turns out to be is a pep rally for God. That's not why we do this. We want to share our faith with those who have not yet had the opportunity to meet the Lord. And then Calliope, who is Candy Kane's spouse and also the keyboardist or one of the keyboardists in the band's adds, again, we don't fit the image of a textbook Christian. Plus, if we didn't have controversy, we wouldn't have your attention. So some of the stuff in this interview, it's kind of like, all right, they are sort of doing it to like get your attention and like to be in your face. And that's part of why they have this image. And I don't know, I guess that seemed a little cheesy to me. Or maybe
But I mean, that's shock rock, isn't it?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's true, I think. So, and then, so one of the subsequent questions was, how do you describe your music? Candy Cane says, let's see, shock rock, nothing more, nothing less. We are not gothic. We are not industrial. Hard music with horror movie sounds. Calliope says, I just like the keyboards in your face. Too hard to explain the style. It's just there. So,
Gripping
um,
stuff, Calliope.
yeah. As was explained in the liner notes from that MCM sampler, they are basically a band that appeals to Marilyn Manson, and they constantly got comparisons to Marilyn Manson. The sound is similar, I guess. I mean, they're both shock rock. Some stuff sounds a little similar that people would pick up on. I don't know. I guess I'd have to listen to more Marilyn Manson to really compare. But I think stylistically, the bands are somewhat different, really. But some of the questions had to do with that. And this one, so the interviewer asks, have you received a lot of flack for the Marilyn Manson similarities from the Manson, quote, purists? Candy Cane, actually, no. Most of the Manson fans that hear us know we don't sound like him that much. They like it. I get a lot of mail from people who are really into him, but yet they really like us because we are a different type of shock rock. And I tend to think that's probably true. But then another question he asks, is Rackets and Drapes the quote unquote safe alternative to Marilyn Manson? And the answer to that one is Billy Graham the safe alternative to Anton LaVey? I mean, the Christian industry has always tried to find a comparison. Saint was the Christian version of Judas Priest. Baron Cross was the Christian version of Iron Maiden. That's okay to a certain extent, but hey, Colt Chamber is Korn Jr. I mean, listen to them. They want to put us into a box saying we're the Christian version, ... That's putting me into the same boat as him. I have a walk with the Lord. I'm different. It's like saying someone is a good criminal. Am I the condom of sex? Morphine is given to heroin addicts in the early stages of treatment. It's an alternative to heroin. I'm not morphine. It's like saying I'm polluting their minds, just not as bad. So he seems to take some offense to the comparisons. So then the last part here, the next question was, to me and others, there are many similarities to some of your songs and Marilyn Manson's. I even hear some of the same riffs, notes, and song structures. For example, the organ part in Milk and Cookies sounds just like the main guitar riff from Manson's song Antichrist Superstar. And I will say, I listen to both, and that is correct. It's the same riff. The question goes out, and then there's the whole ball and chain / the beautiful people thing. Any insight into both of these examples? Candy Cane says, most of the songs on Candyland were written in 94 and 95. And just for those who don't know, Antichrist Superstar came out in 96. So he's saying, we wrote these songs before that album even came out. Ball and Chain sounds more like Children of the Grave from Black Sabbath. I listened to that one as well, and I would say yes, it does. Although the vocals sound way more like Marilyn Manson, not Ozzy. So he goes on, yes, I'm a big Black Sabbath fan. A lot of what I write has a lot of that influence. Listen to it again and you will see what I mean. Not even close to the beautiful people. I would say it's close in a lot of ways. But then he
It was
goes on.
close enough that when I got to that song, I was like, wait, is this the beautiful people? And then I had to go listen to the beautiful people. And there are differences, but holy crap, they're similar.
The foundation is there.
When I first heard this album, I was like, oh, nice. A Christian alternative to the beautiful people. I can finally listen guilt-free to something in this vein.
Oh.
But he goes on, it's like this. If you want there to be similarities, then you can find one no matter how hard you look. Almost make one that isn't even there. I don't even own Antichrist Superstar, never have. Maybe he is my evil twin or something. I swear he is. A while ago, I told a buddy I was going to dye my hair red and wear an eye patch. I thought it would be cool. Then I saw a poster of Manson like that. I was like, come on, dude, I can't win. I must be his good twin. So I just thought that was funny. It's like this guy is just, doing his own shock rock thing and just constantly like crossing paths or just having everybody call him up being like, you're copying this guy's like, I'm not. He's like copying me.
There is absolutely like a Tim Robinson sketch in there. Some guy who tries to be the shock rocker and he keeps doing more outlandish stuff only to find out that the more popular guy has already done it and he's just copying him.
Uh, yeah. Well, so that just gives a little
Ugh.
insight into this band and kind of where they're coming from and what some people were saying about them back in the late 90s when this album was coming out. Brother Paul, you said you had some other stuff you wanted to hit on?
Yeah, I just have a couple of core memories with this band. And the first off is so I remember going onto the internet by myself for the first time. And it was, 98, 99. So I was 10 or 11. And it was dial-up AOL. And I remember being so excited. And then I got on and then I was thinking, well, now what do I do? So I ended up just going on band websites and looking at their discussion forums. And I remember going to the Rackets and Drapes forums, and it was just story after story of kids talking about how their parents burned all their goth clothing or kicked them out on the street or, basically disowning them and just treating their kids shitty because they looked like goth kids. And even as like a 10-year-old, I just couldn't fathom how a parent, particularly one who professes to be a Christian, could do that to a child. And my second story is in seventh grade, we had Bible class, and once a week, the teacher allowed a kid to bring in a album by a Christian band, and we would listen to a song and we would talk about the lyrics. And I had the bright idea to bring this album in, and I showed it to the teacher, and then she flipped it to the back, and it shows the band like all gothed up, and she gasped. And I feel like she comically bobbled the CD and just said, Paul, this band is not Christian. So I just find it interesting how quick Christians are to judge appearances and not engage with the substance of something, which, yeah, was kind of alluded to by Candy Cane himself in those interview segments. Uh,
Yeah. Well, I think at least one of the songs on this album is basically about that too, I think.
yeah.
Well, maybe more than one,
Um,
but yeah.
and then lastly, right before this, my wife was saying, "Hey, what album are you doing today?" And I was describing this band to her, and I said, "Well, it's the band Rackets and Drapes and their album Candyland, and they're kind of like the Christian alternative to Marilyn Manson." And she looked at me and said, "Every single word you just said sounds terrible. I have no interest in that." So,
Uh,
oh,
uh,
I love her so much because that was such an honest reaction. And as I said, I'm like Rackets and Drapes, Candyland.
well,
Oh,
I mean, we'll kind of get into it, but I had not listened to this album since like the very early 2000s,
right.
probably at the latest. It's been a quarter century
Yeah.
at least since I've heard this, and I came in with very low expectations.
Yeah.
And I wonder if how this lived up to my expectations. We'll see.
Yeah.
No spoilers. So let's dive in.
Yeah, well, let's get into this was released in 1998. I don't know the exact date, but and because it's a little hard to find information about this band. They got no Wikipedia. I don't have any production information. Who I think play on this album are Candy Kane, vocals and guitar, Calliope, vocals and keyboard, and Angel Stars on guitar. And That's an educated guess. For drums, I believe they use a drum machine.
Yes,
And I
they are
think,
proud of their drum
yes,
machine. There was other stuff in the interview that, wasn't that interesting, but they definitely are saying we're not going to get a drummer because we like this drum machine we have.
this album was released via MCM Music, which was an independent label founded by Savior Machine. For all of you listeners may remember from our Savior Machine episode, their debut album was released via Frontline Records, and then that album or that record label had a whole bunch of issues. So then subsequently, Eric Clayton decided to form his own record label, basically. So this album is 11 tracks long. It's roughly 45 minutes, and it kicks off with track number one, Baby Killer. Brother John, take us away.
All right. Well, this one opens up with a bell tolling, and it's like, okay, nice. When there's bells tolling, as we've discussed before, could be good. Then again, Horde's album Helig Usfart also opens up with bells tolling, and that was, in my opinion, the only good song on that album. Although, you know what? Maybe we should give Horde a little bit of credit. I happen to be looking at our what the hell do you call it? YouTube, where we post our episodes, and there were some comments on the Horde episode. At least I think three different people basically saying this album changed my life when I got it in the 90s. And, people actually really love it. And one of the comments said, to compare Horde, oh, what band did I compare them to? Emperor, I think. He
Yeah,
said
we
that's a
did.
horrible comparison because
Yeah.
it's like totally different genres, which kind of was what I was saying. I was like, good symphonic sounding produced black metal versus basement black metal. But, a lot of people like that basement black metal. So maybe we gave Horde too short of shrift in our analysis, or maybe that style is just not for me. But, anyways, I digress. So it starts with the bell tolling here on this album, too. It's like, okay, this could be good stuff. But then I did not write down how long this goes on for, but there is a baby crying and it is distressing and it goes on for far too long. I mean, it's supposed to be upsetting. So I
Yeah.
think, like mission accomplished. I was like I wish that this baby crying noise was done and over with. And I think especially having had a couple of children who cried a lot when they were young, it's even more distressing and upsetting for me now to just be subjected to baby crying noises. Then eventually it kind of comes in with the actual song and his vocals right out of the gate. I want to open up our segment, Growls and Howls. We got to talk about this guy's voice. Candy Kane hitting it hard with the real kind of deep, raspy growls right out of the gate. And I think it sounds pretty good. Throughout the album, he has sort of that more low growling sound at times and just sort of like an evil sound to his voice. But then he'll do like the sort of shock rock, like really high
Hmm.
vocals and like almost like whimpering, crying kind of sounds at times. So he's a little bit all over the place, but what did you boys think? I think he has a pretty good voice, especially for this style.
Yeah, I liked his vocal delivery most of the time. His typical vocals, the lower ones, his rasps and whatnot are great. His falsetto doesn't do it for me, but he only busts that out a handful of times throughout this album. So
Only
overall,
only when it's getting real spooky.
yeah, exactly.
But I
Uh,
do I do see the Marilyn Manson comparisons, or I can see where those are coming from because I feel like his voice sounds pretty similar to Manson's, at least at certain times. Because the same could be said about Manson. He's not like a one note kind of vocalist, but there's definitely some crossover in how they sound. So there's that. The vocals pretty good. The music generally pretty basic. It's the drum machine like we talked about. It's not a very intricate beat or anything, but I mean it's driving, it's rhythmic. They have pretty basic like guitar and synth lines, but they got hooks, they'll get stuck in your head. So it's simple but effective. One thing that I thought was kind of silly, at least what came to mind. So right after they deliver the line, they say baby killer, baby killer. Then there's like this pretty simple guitar solo. Like, it's not very complicated, and it just reminds me of that one Sublime song where he's like, I can play the guitar like a motherfucking riot, and then he proceeds to lay the chintziest, weakest solo of all time. Yeah, you're really playing it like a motherfucking riot, guy. Bradley Noel. So, they're not in this song here, they're not purporting to be like laying a crazy solo on us, but that was what came to mind when they did that little guitar line after that part. So then later on, there's more baby crying starting at 3 minutes, 45 seconds. No thanks. What did you guys think about this song?
So I'll go because I have history with the band, and then we'll ask Brother Dave. Yeah, I like the use of the spooky organ sound on the chorus. But musically, this is straightforward, kind of shock rock, goth rock with real prominent bass. We get some chugs, and it's all about that vocal delivery, which I agree it's pretty good. 3 minutes, we get a bit of a breakdown into the bridge where he starts repeating the baby, the baby, the baby, and he does it in different voices. So he does the kind of high childlike falsetto at one point.
The baby, the baby.
My baby. I don't, yeah. So,
but you know what?
Alternating.
I was never really like, don't do the voice. I
Neither
was always
was I.
like, you know what? The voices are kind of good on this. Just adding some zazz to it.
Right.
I
So,
liked how he alternated between saying baby and baby.
yeah.
So, the little things.
Baby. I don't dislike this song, but it is very straightforward compared to the music we typically cover. Brother Dave.
Yes. I've got zero history with this band other than seeing the cover back in the day from one of you boys and being like, that looks stupid.
It's like the same thoughts that I had about pathogenic ocular dissonance.
And were either of us wrong? We will find out.
Wait, that's the one that we covered, right? Of Tourniquet?
Yes.
Microscopic view.
Microscopic view.
Yeah, microscopic view of a telescopic realm, but with a magnifying glass.
And a crazy robot man. And this replaces a crazy robot man with a crazy green candy man.
Lord Licorice all over.
Exactly.
At least
man.
it wasn't Gloppy the Slop Monster.
Can I also add that in high school, I don't know what prompted me to get this, but I had a black and white Dr. Seuss stovepipe type hat. And I would wear it from time to time. And that's like the same kind of hat that the guy on the cover of this is wearing. One of those striped, like a Abraham Lincoln hat. But I had basically that same hat. Maybe I got it because I like this album so much. I don't recall, but I wonder, I might still have that somewhere.
Possible. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you boys have basically hit it. I heard some maybe Korn influence in the vocal delivery as well. And they were also, kind of blowing up around this time. And that, I think the solo part you were talking about it was just a bunch of natural harmonics that he's doing, which was interesting. It's not technical music, but I thought it was, fun playing around with his harmonics. And vocals were good. They're kind of I think the standout part of this band because, as you both mentioned, this is very straightforward music, but it sounds pretty good for what I'm assuming is a shoestring budget. And I think that they successfully create the vibe that they're going for. And so, yeah, decent song. I am surprised that it's not complete garbage, but I'm happily surprised.
Well, we should probably open up a little segment called Lyrical Tactics, Vocal Gymnastics.
Lyrical tactics, vocal gymnastics.
Because this song is titled Baby Killer, and it is about abortion. Brothers, what are your
It's
thoughts on this?
homicide, it's genocide. Oh baby, whoa baby. Um,
Yeah, well, it's a strong anti-abortion message. My
and I mean it's what we were raised in, so
yeah,
it probably didn't stand out to you as odd back in the day, I would
right.
guess.
But in retrospect, it's like my big question is calling people baby killers really an effective way to combat abortion? I don't really think so. Not really sure, but like you said, when we were growing up, this was the messaging, and there were people. I don't know. There's some company that produced shirts that just said they're black shirts with big white letters that say abortion is homicide, like
Hmm.
huge letters. And we had a friend who I won't name any names because I think they regret the choice to purchase and wear this shirt now. But, at the time, wore that shirt kind of a lot. We probably had more than one friend who had that same kind of shirt. But
Hmm.
it's like it's a message of condemnation and basically saying you're a murderer. And is that the kind of message that is helpful for people who feel like they need to get an abortion? It's like not really solving a problem, but it's making people feel horrible about the choice that they felt they had to make. So, in a way, I guess it's a pretty on brand message from evangelical Christians, but it just never ceases to perplex me that the people who seem to be the most anti-abortion are also usually strongly Republican and strongly in favor of many other policies that actively lead to more death of people who have already been born. So it's just strange to like pick and choose like what you think is homicide and be so upset about that in that context and not homicide in other contexts. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah,
But
and the whole abortion quote unquote debate is so stupid because the anti-abortion crowd comes to it from such a position of like just inauthenticity
mhm.
in that they don't want abortion, but they will do literally nothing to make a world in which abortion is less necessary a reality.
Right.
And they like actively are making the world worse to the point that people are like, "Oh, there's no way that I could raise a child in this environment."
Hmm.
And so it's just so much hypocrisy and I hate it.
Yeah, this song, it is a perfect distillation of evangelicals' views of abortion. Like this is it was such a huge topic in the 90s and early 2000s, and like this is what we were raised to believe, that abortion is murder. The people who perform abortions are baby killers. People who have abortions are baby killers. But conversely, I think evangelicals would be horrified by this song, which is like a weird incongruity because these are the like evangelicals are some of those people. They would go and they would hold up pictures of aborted fetuses outside of women's health clinics. But I think if they saw the members of Rackets and Drapes, they'd be like, "Oh, how fucking horrifying are these people dressed as, goths?" Uh, Even though
They're like, we don't want to be on the
lyrically,
same team as these guys. They
right?
look weird.
Yes, yes. Uh, but somehow holding up pictures of aborted fetuses, is fine to do,
As long
but
as you're not dressed like a goth.
right, as long as you don't have fishnets and a top hat, you're
I think
good.
the problem with Rackets and Drapes is that they weren't judgmental enough.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like so much of evangelicalism is uniting over judging other people.
Yeah, it's a shared hate almost.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and one other thing, I just thought it was a little bit odd that Rackets and Drapes specifically would come out with a song like this because, I was saying up top with some of the stuff in the interview and whatnot, it's like they're trying to appeal to the marginalized and the unwanted,
Hmm.
unloved people in society. Like those are some of the people who arguably could use some Christian love, and people who presumably some of them have gotten abortions, not because they love committing homicide, but because they were in a tough situation. It's like, what do you do? And then to go to a concert where it's like these people are supposed to be Christians, and hearing this song, it's like that would turn me off completely from being friend. I'd be like, these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
this one feels
trying
really
to, yeah, it's like misplaced. I don't
contrary
know. It's
to a
very
lot of the
strange.
it feels contrary to the message of a lot of the other songs on the album. And it's the wrong one to lead with. Like, even if this is part of your ideology, wouldn't you want to kind of like bury it in there and get them into your album with some of the more pro-social stuff first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder, these guys, I wonder what they think about this song now and the message of this song. I mean, maybe they're still 100% in favor of it, but maybe like our
Maybe they
minds
got
have
more
changed over the
conservative with
last.
age.
Oh, yeah, you never know. Well, maybe. You never know. Although it is my understanding that Candy Cane is trans, and I have like no other details other than it was discussed on some message board. So, not to say trans people can't also be conservative, but it's less common.
Right. Well, with that, let us move on to track number 2, Ball and Chain, Brother Dave.
This one's got a very synthy bass that's very driving. Again, simple but effective, I think. And then the drums on this one, like the beat is The Beautiful People by
Yep.
Marilyn Manson.
But it's
Like,
also that song from Black Sabbath that I talked about before.
right. Like Marilyn Manson does not have a copyright on this drum beat. And it is a very just kind of primal drum beat. So maybe it really is just a coincidence that these two songs from kind of similar-ish shock rock bands came out around the same time. I did listen to The Beautiful People, didn't realize that it was a song kind of about the intersection of religion, capitalism, and fascism. So, congrats, Marilyn Manson. You called it.
You nailed it 30 years ago. You pegged it for what it was.
Yeah. And that song, and Marilyn Manson overall just has much, much better production
Mhm.
compared to this band. And listening to them side to side, you kind of hear the production challenges that this band faced. Like, it's very muffled sounding, and just I feel like they do a good job with what they had to work with, but it's very clear they just don't have the money of other larger bands. Beyond that comparison, this song, it's fine. It's a shock rock song. The thing that stood out to me most was the 20 seconds play that he does. He likes peppering in every now and then one very high word that he kind of holds out. Decent song, and I appreciated the lyrical content of this one. I do like that they're diving into tough topics and not necessarily treating them glibly. They're trying to deal with the idea of child abuse and child neglect in this song. And I think that that's a healthy thing for Christian bands, particularly, to try to do, because Christians claim to care about this stuff.
Mhm.
Brother Paul.
Yeah, so musically it's pretty straightforward. I like the organ noise that they do exiting the chorus. I think that's a lot of fun. The bass, that synthy bass is doing a lot of work for this
Mhm.
song. And yes, him punctuating the end of lines by like going up really high. It's a choice, and I think it works. You know, it sticks out. It makes the song interesting. It's the style. This I like this song. I think this is one of the ones that I had on a mixtape, Brother John, that
Yeah,
you had made.
probably. This was
Uh,
like back in the day.
yeah,
This was probably my favorite one on the album,
yeah.
and still a banger, let me say. Not to totally cut you off there,
No, you
if
go.
you
Those
had
were
more to
my
say.
notes. I got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you guys pretty much covered what's in my notes, but this one, in my opinion, it's a banger. It's got the really rhythmic, pulsating bass and just a driving rhythm. And then when it gets to the chorus, a lot of double kick E drums going on, and then those spooky organ synths. A nice. And just like his spooky vocal inflections, there's whispers, groans, ghoulish screams. He's crushing it. So, I like this song.
Which takes us to track number three, Love with a Fist. And this starts out with some child laughter and like a lullaby. And that goes on. And then there's an abrupt slam of the
It
keys.
it
Yeah.
goes on for 40 seconds.
Yeah. So it's going on. It's like this child laughing and playing, and then the gentle lullaby playing. There's a slam of the keys, and it kicks into this real groovy, crunchy jam. And it's really good. This one's short and to the point, and it never loses its drive. This song is a bop. Lyrically, this song makes me so uncomfortable in a way that I don't think any song that we've covered or stuff even I listen to, like black metal wise or whatever darker genres. So I love my children and my wife so much, and to have a song about domestic and child abuse and just the lines, they're really unsettling. Like the end, Daddy said, Mommy, tell me why you're crying. Daddy says that he's not leaving. Mommy cries when Daddy's drinking. God, this entire song is just a fucking punch to the gut. It makes me so uncomfortable. M Mission succeeded, Rackets and Drapes. Uh brother John.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what you said. It's a sad song. I mean, just content wise about an abusive father and husband. Not the sort of song I would put on for fun, really. I kind of forgot about this one, and then it's like, oh man, yeah, this is dark stuff. So it's like unsettling, shocking, you might even say, but that's what they're going for. So, but yeah, not a bad song, brother Dave.
Yeah, the the delivery matches the content perfectly on this one. That very groovy kind of stanky bass.
Hmm.
And then the guitar is more just noise on this one, and it gives way to like fearfully whispered lyrics. And the delivery is perfect.
Yeah.
And like it's this entire song is fearful and uncomfortable, and it's supposed to be that way. And I'm glad that this song exists.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not fun music.
No, it's not. Which takes us to track number four, Sticks and Stones.
Spelled with
Brother.
an X
And a
and a Z.
Z. All right. Brother Dave, take us away.
Um, we get a very synthy bass again on this one. It's a bit repetitive, and though it's only for 18 seconds, I feel like the intro feels a little bit long. Maybe it's intentional. It's kind of kind of their style, it seems like, is have long, slightly too long introductions. And then the guitar comes in just kind of as sparse chugs over this. We get the first riff change at 1 minute 17 seconds. So these guys do like to kind of hang out and create a vibe on one thing. And when we get that change, then we get the big organ keys filling out the chorus where he's screaming, "You will suffer." I think it's very effective, and it, kind of alternates between these. I think we get some more of that falsetto in here that doesn't totally work for me, but overall, this one pretty groovy and again pretty effective for being as straightforward and stripped down as it is. Brother John?
Yeah, I was not that big of a fan of this one. Like you said, the guitar line, pretty basic for most of it. And he's singing here with almost like a vocal fry style. It's not as bad as what I forget what song we were talking about, but where it sounded like Jester script transfigured from In Flames. It wasn't quite that bad of vocal fry, but
Demon Hunter.
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's probably what it was.
It was.
But yeah, and I don't know, he's like the lyrics, he's basically asking if the listener will remain true to Christ in the face of adversity and persecution. I do wonder a little bit, are these people being persecuted because they're carrying a Bible with them, like it says in the lyrics, or because they look like goth people and normal society doesn't understand? I feel like it's more likely they'd be made fun of for that than for their Christianity, but you never know. But at 3:16, this one does go pretty hard on the organ, so that part is cool. And then he gets some extra spooky vocals towards the end where he's like, "The sticks and the stones will break my bones, but the words that you say will never, never hurt me." And he's just kind of, yeah, getting the high falsettos thrown in there too a little bit. Yeah, never, never hurt my little Justin Timberlake
Yeah.
guest vocalist. It's gonna hurt me. So yeah, I mean, this overall wasn't a huge fan of this one, but they did have that cool organ part towards the end, which I thought was pretty rad.
Yeah, so I actually liked the intro on this one. I thought the synthy bass was pretty unsettling, and I think that was what they were going for. And then it kind of chugs in. I like the way it crescendos into the chorus, and there's some really nice, like the drum pattern they do for that build into the chorus is really good and interesting. He punctuates the second verse, especially. He goes with the real high notes, which and then he's almost like sneering at points. So he does so much with his voice. I don't love the kind of bridge breakdown with the slow tempo when he goes, "The sticks and stones will break my bones." But I mean, the outro is good when he speeds it up. This song, it's good. Just that bridge section is kind of a miss for me. Which takes us to track number 5, Home Street Home, Brother John.
Yeah, so again, another one with a pretty straight drum beat and a solid bass line. I mean, that's pretty much these guys' bread and butter. And it works, Then the vocals kind of come in with a whisper where he's like, "See the children with the broken wings on them. Wounded angels can't fly." So, that spooky whispering, I think it works. They really lay into the chorus where it's like, home, street, home is where the home is. So I feel like, yeah, coming off Sticks and Stones, which I wasn't too thrilled with, this one, they're kind of hitting some good notes for me. It's got a pretty good groove. And then at 2:20, there's a bridge part where they have a nice little musical interlude. And then he whispers, "Jesus saves, come as you are." And then they go back into another hard chorus. So I feel like there's some good dynamics on this one. lot of anger and sadness in this music. Like he's laying a lot of feelings into the lyrics. So it's very emotional stuff.
The
But
liberal
this is a pretty
snowflake.
good. Yeah. Well, or maybe conservative snowflake, anti-abortion message and all. We don't know what this guy's politics are. It's all over the place. Brother Dave,
Yeah.
what else you
Uh,
got?
I think that first song aside, I think the rest of these are largely leaning kind of left liberal. I think the standout, this was a pretty like driving, nice, just like effective, straightforward song. I liked the screamed "Home Street Home" that they did in the chorus. And this is another one that I really appreciated the lyrics on. Like, because I appreciated the subject matter. I can't think of another song that talks about homelessness. And it feels apt to me that he's calling out Christians specifically about how they handle homelessness or don't handle homelessness, because Christians are largely the ones that push back against having social safety nets. And they claim that this is like the realm of religious charity and then don't do that religious charity. And so they're like, government, don't do it. We'll take care of it. And then they don't. And I think it's good to call out hypocrisy within your own group. And I think that that's what this song is doing. And I like it. Brother Paul?
Yes. So musically, I like this one. It's got that sweet kick going on with the beat and then the bass comes in and I like the deadpan whisper he's doing on the first verse. And then this song just seems to build and add more elements. Brother John used the word dynamic, and I had the same one. I like this song a lot because I think it's the most interesting and dynamic one musically so far. That breakdown at 220 where it gets kind of drifting, and he does the whisper, Jesus saves, come as you are. I I really like this song. And to Brother Dave's point, lyrically, I think it's wonderful. I remember like so growing up, you're kind of taught to fear homeless people. But churches, I remember going to one church and they would have sermons about, oh, we got to go help homeless people, but it always came across as inauthentic and patronizing. Like you're a mega church out, not in the city. Like what
Yeah,
is
or
going on?
like they're like we're organizing a 1 day thing to
Yeah,
go out and give food to homeless people. And like great, but that's just 1 day. They're still homeless.
right. So I think speaking personally, I think one thing that I've tried to do with my kids is to help them understand, why folks are homeless. Like so that on their driving route, there's a lady who stands on the corner. She's a regular. Her name is Sherry. And like I've stopped and brought her food and chatted with her a couple times and kind of know her story. And then so my kids will see her and be like, "Oh, I see she's back." And it's like, "Okay, well, some people they want to know why she's there." And I tell them, I'm like, she has a hard time getting a home. Well, why is that? Why doesn't she have a home? Maybe she's sick in her brain a little bit. Well, why doesn't she go to a doctor? Some people can't go to the doctor. Well, we should do something about that then. So, I don't know. I think Christians have failed the homeless in a massive way. And that's a damn shame. Which takes us to track number 6, Bride in Black, Brother Dave.
This one starts off with a theremin, which love to see it. Classic horror, yet then a Halloween organ and some church bells tolling. Like this is this is
Hitting all
Halloween
the
music.
'Hitting all the switches.
Yeah, or like they're like, we're organizing a 1 day thing to go out and give food to homeless people. And like, great, but that's just 1 day. They're still homeless.
Hitting all the switches. 'Hitting all the switches. 'Hitting all the switches.
And it's like a full minute of introduction of all of these great elements. Vocals and drums finally come in at a minute 03. Uh, and we get it's actually kind of a plodding song. The chorus finally comes in with the "You said you'd carry a slob like me." Um, this is the only song that I'm not really sure what it's about. It might just be about somebody being a deadbeat and kind of being carried by their spouse. Maybe it's about their relationship with Jesus or something, getting carried by him. I'm not sure. But musically, I like what this one's doing. It's building. We get like finally kind of like a payoff at about 2 minutes with the guitar finally coming in. You know, when it drops back down to the vocals and drums, we get like organ in on top of it. They do cool stuff with the layering and kind of mixing it up as they come back to sections in this song. And they create a real good vibe, I think. Brother Paul?
Yeah, it's got a slow, almost funeral-like dirge at the beginning, which, for ostensibly being a song about a bride and a wedding, that's the juxtaposition. That's kind of cool. The organ and all those, the theremin and the Halloween, everything. It's all interesting, but I think that they linger on that for too long. I think this song drags too long before it finally moves on to the Bride in Black section where it picks up. So by the time it picks up, I've already kind of lost
Mhm.
interest. I like I like the concept of this song. I don't think it quite delivers. Bit of a slog, Brother John.
Well, you know what? My notes tell me that this is a slow one, but it kind of low key slaps. A lot of times, a super slow song is like, okay, I don't know how much I like this, but this one, I was like, all right, this is kind of hitting it for me. I like it. And, thinking about it now, wedding song with spooky Halloween effects. I feel like Sadie and I, we got married on Halloween. We totally missed a golden opportunity to walk down to the aisle to this song. What were we thinking? Maybe we can renew our vows someday and do it to this song. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I like this one. Also, kind of in the middle at some point, the bass drumming is slightly off beats at part, but I feel like that almost kind of fits better. Like I had not actually read the lyrics until just now, and you said you'd carry a slob like me. You said you'd marry a slob like me. And to have sort of sloppy bass that doesn't quite hit the rhythm quite right sort of fits with the lyrical content. But yeah, and I don't have a timestamp on this, but at one point where he's just screaming out "Bride in Black"
Hmm.
and has a little bit of a vocal effect on his vocals, that was some good stuff. And it's not completely slow the entire time. It kind of picks up some speed towards the end and even ends on a little bit of a galloping chug part. But overall, I thought this was a pretty nice song.
Well, track number 7, Dead Horse. Not a slog. They hit us with this fucking banger. It is faster and it's almost a punk feel to it. God, and the line, redemption draweth near, you said. He's almost doing the tourniquet voice on that one. And it's almost talking the voice, but it works here. It works here. It's so good. And I really like the abrupt shift from the verse to the chorus. I like this one a lot, and it's got some real banger lines in it, like Jesus paid the price for sin, and that is how you're cashing in. It's gold. It's gold. Brother John.
Yeah, I agree with the things you've said. And I got to call out at 138. It's not like the kind of breakdown where you would like open up the pit and throw down, but it is like a musical breakdown and it's rad. It's kind of like a hard merge from the fast beat they were doing to this groovy synth thing and a straight halftime beat. and where they're just saying dead horse, like a dead horse. It's like, fuck yeah. That part went hard. And yeah, speaking of like good lines, at 3:35 they say round and round the basket goes, then buy your wife new Barbie clothes. It's just like calling out Christian greed and hypocrisy.
Hmm.
And and then at 3:55 they lay that sick breakdown on us again. So this is another banger. Good stuff.
Yeah, this is a good song. And I like a song about, money in religion. They really needed to get Worldane in here and just do a collab with God and Money.
Exactly.
Get it for one of the Think of the Children songs.
Oh
Yeah,
man, yeah, they had
this
so
is
much in common.
this is like the third time that we've been like Worldane would get along with the vocalist of or the lyricist of this band because yeah, it's just hitting on those themes. But
Yeah, Worldane and Candy Cane. It even rhymes.
Worrell Kane. Is that
When they
anything?
got gay married. Uh, this one is, I mean, it starts with just a heavily distorted synthy bass again, and it is taking no prisoners with my good friend Double Tresillo, which I think really gives it that driving feel. And I'm not sure that I've said this to you boys, but I was like, I say Double Tresillo. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about, but it's exactly the Mortal Kombat feel, right? Dun 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 dun. So you have those four threes and then two twos, and
Oh,
so it's the Mortal Kombat beat.
there's a
Um,
reason why that song has endured.
yeah, Double Tresillo's awesome. That's what I've been saying this whole time. Uh, and I have noted here that I think, like I think the characterization of this album from your mix CD, calling it industrial thrash, was way off. But if this song had different production, it could totally be an industrial song.
hmm
It's it's way more like punchy and driving than a lot of the other stuff we've had in a real good way. I like their good use of halftime going into the chorus, the dead horse part, and getting like the higher kind of screechy synths on the top of it, working real well. The other thing I like is at 219, they don't just switch back to the verse. Like they're you expect them to just kind of switch back into the verse, but instead the keys kind of keep rising and droning on over it, and the verse kind of fades in, or the music preceding the verse kind of fades in under it. And I think it was a cool, uh, interesting thing that they did there. It was a good song. I like it.
Well, that takes us to track number 8, Burning Your Witches, Brother John.
this one kicks it off with some heavy chugs and the pounding kick drum. Again, just like that driving beat. And they've got like some tambourine sounding stuff going on at the intro here, too. Again, it's another pretty repetitive, just driving song, like fairly straightforward verse, chorus kind of thing. But then again, they lay an awesome bridge part on us at 2:13. They get to that, and it's just laden with groove. It has this big booming, almost thunder sound coming in the background. I don't know if that's just like an extra large kick drum sound on their drum machine or what, but that was kind of filling it out in a fun way. And at the very end, it has the I'm melting thing, which
So dumb.
and then I read the lyrics, and one of the lyrics is it's ding dong, the witch is dead. Like back in the day, I always thought it was we want the witch is dead, but it's ding dong, the witch is dead. And it just struck me as a little bit silly to have those kind of call outs to wow, whatever that movie is called, The Wizard of Oz and the Wicked Witch of the West. So, but yeah, decent song. It's got that cool bridge. I like that.
I like
Brother
it.
Dave. Oh, Brother Paul.
I was gonna jump in because you were being too slow. Uh, I like how it starts. It's got some real punchy guitars, but then not much happens in this song. I think it drags. And I wrote that note, and then I checked the time, and it was only 3 minutes into the song. And then the song just kept going. So this one's a bit of a pass for me.
Yeah, I felt like this was not a particularly memorable song, but there are two things that stood out to me. One was the I'm melting part, which is just silly. But two, this song again uses double tresillo, and like the guitars are almost the Mortal Kombat theme song, to the point that you could hear somebody screaming Mortal Kombat if you listen to it. So splice that in.
Yeah, do a little side by side
Yeah.
comparison to really highlight that.
That's all I've got.
Well, track number 9, Milk and Cookies. This one, I don't like his vocal affectations on the verses. It feels especially forced on this song. It stands out in a negative way to me. But I like that the backing growls that's happening on the chorus. Those fit nicely. And I do really like the whispered milk and cookies. And then they go into the organ bridge.
Oh yeah.
So that's really cool. I like that. Otherwise, it's a pretty standard kind of shock rock song full of guitar chugs. It's got a fun outro, and how this song just kind of like melts or like powers down in the way it ends. So mixed bag here. Brother Dave.
This is another one that could have been an industrial song straight up with slightly different production. It's pretty chuggy, pretty driving. I like how they take that really driving verse and then give way at about a minute or so when it goes in the chorus into just a more spacious chorus. I think despite being a relatively straightforward, musically pretty simple band, all things told, they've got a good handle of dynamics and a good handle on layering. So it usually doesn't sound boring. So I do like that. And at 2 minutes, we get like a little synth solo. It's not technical, but it works. Other than that, this is the one that they say sounds very similar to Antichrist Superstar. And I did go and listen to that, and it's true. They sound very similar to each other.
Hmm.
But John already spoke about
Yeah,
the controversy up
not
top.
not in a bad way though. I mean, there's room in my life for two separate shock rock bands with shocking and spooky riffs. You know, even if
Yeah.
the shocking and spooky riffs sound are the same riff, basically just done in different ways, sort of. But yeah, the main thing, like I kind of was in Paul's camp, the verse chorus, not a huge fan. But right after he whispers milk and cookies and they lay that sick ass bridge on us with that spooky organ synths. That was pretty sweet. Like I feel like that's kind of their MO. They have a real basic, straightforward verse, chorus, and then they'll just drop this rad synthy, organy bridge and like lay some groove on us. So, you know, I appreciate that.
Well, track number 10, Disease of Me, Brother Dave.
This one's a horror rock jam. They're trying a couple of new things here, particularly at 3 minutes, we get some gang vocal, hey, hey, heys, which I didn't hate them. I'm usually not big on gang vocals, but I think they worked here. And at 3:30, we dropped down to just bass and drums, which the bass has been very prominent on this album overall. And it sits really well. It usually sounds pretty good. I like what they do. I feel like this song, there's nothing particularly new here, but it's a solid jam. Brother John?
Well, you forgot to mention that at the very beginning it starts out with some pig noises. So there's that.
I blew it.
But
Is this a coal chamber song?
oh man, I wish we'll have to cover that someday so we can talk about that and compare the pig noises. But also, I thought this one had sort of a sing-songy swing beat to it in certain parts, like kind of peppy for being shock rock. But maybe that was the most shocking part, to mix it up and throw something with such pep our way. And again, they have that fun breakdown tossed here at about the 2 minute mark. They got the spooky keys, and then it kind of builds up with 16th notes on the snare. But then at 2:31, they start layering in a halftime beat as well, and I thought that sounded pretty cool. Keeps going, and then at 3 minutes they get to the hey chants that you're saying. So that whole segment from like 2 to 3 minutes I thought was pretty fun. Overall, I thought this one was fine, but that part in the middle was pretty legit.
Yeah, this one has a real bouncy intro, but I felt like the vocals on the verse were mixed really like kind of far back. It was really kind of muddled, and it kind of ruined it for me. And at certain points, they're doing like these big organ stabs, and I don't, they were doing it too much. And if they had done it fewer times, it would have been more effective. Those big gang vocal haze, production wise, they sounded distinct and weird. I like the idea, but the way they were mixed and put into the song did not fit. So overall, this song maybe could have been good, but like this is one where I was like, oh, this is bad. This is badly produced. This is bad production. And that, it's a bit of a bummer. Could have been a good song, but it wasn't, at least for me. Which takes us to the end of the album, track number 11, Electric Sheep. Brother John, take us home.
All right. Well, the very beginning, well, I don't know how exactly it starts for the first 14 seconds, but when it gets to the 14-second mark, they have like this snare drum thing where they're like hitting the snare and then they throw in a little kick beat. And it is the exact same beat that the Newsboys use in their song In the End from the album Hell is for Wimps. And so this is a very little known Newsboys song, but I think in the late 90s, I was huge into the Newsboys in the mid to late 90s. And then like I had gotten their whole back catalog. And so I was more familiar with that song at the time. And then like every time I hear this one, I'm like, oh, that's the same as that old Newsboys song. But that is where the similarities of these songs end. Because it's nothing like the Newsboys. This is shock rock, and the Newsboys are not. At 40 seconds, there's a cool little bridge part where they go to a halftime beat, toss some triplets in there. Thought that part was pretty cool. And during the verses, sort of like horror movie sounding synths going on, which quite spooky. And another part I liked at a minute 44, they get to a different kind of bridge part, and they have this fun descending riff that actually sounds a lot like one of the Zao riffs from Liberate Teax Inferes, which it's the song If These Scars Could Speak at 3 minutes 45 seconds. It's towards the end of that song where he's saying, Scarlet adorned the snow, and it's like on the guitars. I'm singing the guitar part
I know that
perfectly.
riff. It was a good
But
riff.
but yeah, so they do kind of a similar kind of thing here, which I was like, oh, that's fun. So yeah, I thought this one had some fun little references to other songs I was aware about, and it was kind of spooky, and it was good. So I like this one. Brother Dave.
This song was probably the weakest one on the album in my mind. Unfortunately, I did like that section around starting around 141. One of the few instances of actually having like a riff on the guitars. It's been a lot of chugs that have been effective, but they're I can't really think of any other like notey stuff they've done. And so that was a nice change and it sounded pretty decent. What didn't grab me was he was doing something different vocally. It sounded like he was trying to kind of alternate between operatic vocals and his screams in the verses. And the screams I think are good, but the operatic vocals were not doing it for me. I didn't think they were particularly good. And so this one ended up, I feel like, being the weakest song. It wasn't standout bad, but it was just kind of like, eh. And then it's the end of the album. So it's got this position of authority within the album, and I think it kind of fumbles it. Brother Paul.
Yeah, there's some very subtle spooky organ that's going on underneath in this song, and I like that. But outside of that, we get some, kind of crunchy guitars, and it's short. It's an ender. I think it's fine, but it's not father and son watching the world go down. So for that reason, I'm out.
Oh man, few enders are as good as that. No enders are as well. Yeah, no enders are as good as that.
No. So on that note, let us kick it over to our resident rankings expert, Brother John.
All right, you Jesus freaks. Our final segment is Bop or Flop, where we decide, does the album slap or is it crap? We have honed our patented 6-tier ranking system, going from 6 all the way down to 1. Of course, we have the bops. A perfect 6, unassailable. God has truly shined his divine light on this album. A 5, like to stand on that thing. A banger we could easily listen to again and again. A 4, or that's doable. A very solid album, worth checking out. And there are the flops. A 3, it lacks zazz. A 2, sorry, it's not my cup of tea. And a 1, belongs in a garbage can. So I was prepared to shit all over this album. Like I said up top, I had not listened to this in so long, and I had only a very vague recollection of what it was all about. And I was thinking I'd probably take a listen and be like, oh man, this sucks. And we might have a contender with Horde for my least favorite album of the season and of the show so far. But in fact, I put it on and I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't hate it. And so, maybe my musical tastes haven't changed much in the last 30 years because I did like this back in the day. And you know what? I still think it's decent today. Like we've said, it's not particularly complicated music, but it's catchy. It's got some cool groovy parts. It's got some hooks. So it does have zazz, even though it's relatively straightforward and just kind of repetitively rhythmic, but like not in a bad way. It's got those spooky sounds, which sometimes hit just right. And like, I don't really listen to much industrial or however you would exactly classify this genre. I guess I'm not even sure what this band is even comparable to. So it's really not a genre I ever listened to. This album, I wouldn't put it on often, but if it comes on, I probably would not skip past it. All told, I'm going to give it a 4 and say it's worth checking out to see what you think.
Yeah, as I mentioned up top, I was only vaguely aware of this band back in the day, and I knew them as the Christian alternative to Marilyn Manson. And then after looking at the cover art, I was pretty sure this was going to be really stupid. So I was pleasantly surprised when it wasn't bad. It's not my genre for sure, and the production is potato quality, but even so, like they do their best with what they've got. They mix it pretty well, and it sounds decent. The compositions and musicianship won't blow you away, but that's also not really what the genre's about. And I think that these guys do gothy shock rock well. Lyrically, the songs are a little ham-fisted, maybe, but outside of Baby Killer, I think they're heading in the right direction and touching on topics that deserve more spotlight, especially in Christian circles. Like this is a very think of the children heavy album, and Christians claim to care about children, but it often doesn't go beyond lip service in large swaths of evangelical Christianity. So I think that's good. And I think having voices like this in Christianity is a good thing. Overall, this was an interesting one. I'm going to give it a solid 3. It's not the Zaz I'm looking for, but it's definitely worth checking out if it's a genre that appeals to you.
This was a really interesting album to revisit. I can see why I liked it as a kid, but I also see why I haven't revisited it in 25 years. The music here, it is very basic, which is not necessarily bad, but it's straightforward. It can all kind of tend to follow the exact same pattern every song. But I think what was really fascinating on this re-listen was the lyrics, because there is this mix of very orthodox and mainstream evangelical belief in there, mixed with some, ham-fisted but incisive commentary about Christianity. Ultimately, I'm going to play Solomon, and I'm going to rate this one a 3.6 Rontgen. Not great, not terrible. I'm really glad that I re-listened to it, but I mean, it's going to be another 25 years before I listen to it again. However, I do think it is worthwhile to check this out kind of as a historical artifact at the very least. Well, brothers and sisters, that is all for season 3 and the mini season 3.5. We will be back with season 4, Blasphemers, where we'll be diving into the world of blasphemous and anti-religious music. And we'll be kicking that off with the secular alternative to Rackets and Drapes, every 90s parent's worst nightmare, Marilyn Manson's 1996 smash hit, Antichrist Superstar. Until then, stay metal, my brothers.
Heaven
yeah,
yeah,
brother.
brother.